Welcome back to the channel Future Speed Hub 2026. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating armored vehicles from World War II history, the Japanese Type 2 KMI amphibious tank. This machine was not just another tank on the battlefield, but a unique innovation designed for a very specific purpose. Unlike most armored vehicles of its time, the Type 2 KMI was created to operate both on land and water, making it a rare piece of engineering that stands out even among the wide variety of military vehicles developed during that era. The Type 2 KMI was developed by the Imperial Japanese Navy in the early 1940s, at a time when Japan was expanding its influence across the Pacific. Amphibious warfare was critical for the Japanese strategy, as most of their operations required assaults on islands. Standard tanks could not simply swim across oceans or land directly on beaches, so the idea of creating a tank that could move from the sea onto land was born. The KMI was Japan's first amphibious tank put into production, and although it was not produced in massive numbers, its concept showed the level of creativity and forward thinking in Japanese military design. The tank itself was based on the chassis of the Type 95 Ha-Go light tank, which was already in use by the Japanese Army. However, to make it seaworthy, engineers made several modifications. The most important feature was its ability to float using large detachable pontoons fitted to the front and rear. These pontoons gave the tank buoyancy while in the water, allowing it to move like a small boat. Once the tank reached land, the pontoons could be removed, and the KMI could operate like a normal tracked vehicle. This gave the crew flexibility to fight in two completely different environments. The Type 2 KMI was armed with a 37mm main gun and two 7.7mm machine guns, which made it effective against infantry and lightly armored vehicles, though it was not powerful enough to take on heavy tanks of the time. Its armor protection was also relatively thin, reaching only up to 12mm in most areas. This meant it could withstand small arms fire but was vulnerable to larger anti-tank weapons. Still, its purpose was not to fight head-to-head with enemy armor but to support amphibious landings and provide firepower during beach assaults. The crew of the KMI consisted of 5 men: commander, driver, gunner, loader, and machine gunner. Operating an amphibious tank required close teamwork, especially during landings when timing and coordination were critical. On water, the tank moved using twin propellers powered by the engine, while on land, it functioned like any other tracked vehicle. This dual capability gave the KMI an advantage in situations where traditional tanks could not even enter the battlefield. Despite its interesting design, the Type 2 KMI saw limited use in actual combat. It was deployed in several Pacific campaigns, including on Saipan and the Marshall Islands. However, by the time it was widely available, Japan's strategic situation had changed, and the need for amphibious assaults had decreased. Many KMI tanks ended up being used in defensive roles on islands, where their amphibious capabilities were less useful. Against the heavily armed American forces, the KMI struggled to make a major impact, but it remained a symbol of Japan's innovative approach to warfare. From a technological point of view, the KMI was ahead of its time. Amphibious tanks were not common during World War II, and even after the war, only a few nations experimented with similar designs. The fact that the KMI could be launched from submarines and ships made it even more unusual, as it combined naval and land warfare in a way few other vehicles ever did. Today, surviving examples of the Type 2 KMI are rare, but they are highly valued by historians and collectors because of their uniqueness. Looking back, the Type 2 KMI is a reminder of how necessity drives innovation. Japan needed a vehicle to support amphibious invasions, and they designed a tank that could swim across the ocean and fight on land. While it may not have changed the outcome of the war, it left a mark in military history as one of the most unusual armored vehicles ever built. That wraps up today's video on the Japanese Type 2 KMI amphibious tank. It was a remarkable creation that blended land and sea power into a single machine, showing us the creativity of wartime engineers. If you enjoyed learning about this fascinating vehicle, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Future Speed Hub 2026 for more deep dives into historic tanks, aircraft, and military technology. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.